All right, so ready to dive into how taking breaks can actually boost your creativity.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
We're looking at this article from Irish Artmart. It's called The Importance of Taking Breaks. Rest as a Tool for Creativity.
Mm. I feel like we're always told to hustle and constantly create.
Yeah, and that's what makes this article so interesting, right? It's saying that stepping away from your work could be the key.
Huh.
Like, I get that pushing yourself too hard leads to burnout, but what about the science? Like, are breaks really a crucial part of the creative process itself?
Oh, absolutely. It's like finding that balance,
Yeah.
between like really diving deep into your work and then stepping back, letting it all simmer.
Simmer, I like that.
Remember that psychologist, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi?
Oh, yeah, yeah. The flow guy.
Exactly. He was all about that feeling of like total absorption in what you're doing.
Being in the zone.
Yeah. But what's interesting is he also said relaxation is key for creative thriving. It can't just be all push, push, push.
So there's this balance we need to find. But how does that play out, like practically, when you're creating something?
Well, they talk about incubation in the article, and it really got me thinking. It's like,
Right.
imagine planting a seed, right? You don't actually see anything happening at first.
Right.
But like underground, there's all this growth going on.
Ah, I see.
It's kind of like that with our minds when we take a break.
Okay. So, like, even when I'm procrastinating, my brain might be secretly working on that painting I've been putting off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just a theory. There's research on this. There was this study in psychological science.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. They looked at how even just little breaks, like just stepping away from your desk for a bit, can improve how you do on creative tasks.
Interesting.
People who took those short breaks, they came up with more creative solutions to problems.
So small breaks actually make a difference. I'm already feeling less guilty about my coffee breaks. But what about when we need to really recharge, like a whole day off or even a vacation?
The article talks about those longer breaks too. Like you really immerse yourself in something totally different.
Yeah, travel, nature.
Exploring a new city?
Yeah, like that kind of break could really shake things up, don't you think? Give you a fresh perspective on your work when you come back.
Absolutely. It's about exposing yourself to new things.
Hmm.
Sights, sounds, experiences, all of that goes into your creative subconscious. And it can change your art in ways you wouldn't expect.
I remember once I was totally stuck on this writing project. I went for a hike in the mountains.
Oh, nice.
Being out in nature, it just cleared my head. And when I got back to my desk, the words just dot flowed.
That's a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you've been staring at a painting for too long. Got to step back, come back with fresh eyes.
Totally, totally. See the forest for the trees. But I'm curious about creative breaks.
Hmm.
The article mentioned trying out new art forms during breaks. What's that about?
Oh, it's fascinating. Imagine you're a painter and you're just blocked creatively. Instead of forcing yourself to paint, you try something totally different, like pottery or photography.
So by using different parts of your brain, you're kind of cross-training your creativity.
Exactly. And you never know, you might make connections between those things.
Mhm.
Like a pottery technique might inspire you to approach your painting differently. Or the way you frame a photo could give you an idea for a painting composition.
Wow, so many possibilities.
And it's not just about using different parts of your brain, it's about shifting your perspective. Trying a new art form forces you to approach creativity in a whole new way.
Right, right. Like stepping outside your comfort zone. Which reminds me, the article also mentioned mindfulness and meditation.
Oh, yeah.
I've always been curious about those, but haven't really tried them.
They can be really powerful, both for you as a person and for your creative process.
Mm.
Meditation especially can help you quiet all that mental chatter that can block your creativity.
So it's about finding that stillness, even when life is crazy.
Yes. And in that stillness, you make space for new ideas. It's like clearing the canvas of your mind, so inspiration can paint something new.
You know, it's funny, right? We always hear about artists like Picasso traveling the world, having these huge life changes that impacted their art.
Right.
But like, maybe we forget that even small breaks can make a difference.
Absolutely. We don't always need those huge life-altering moments to feel creative. Sometimes just those little moments of quiet, they can be just as powerful.
Yeah, yeah. Like giving our minds a chance to just dot breathe.
Yeah,
and make connections we wouldn't see otherwise.
totally.
Speaking of those everyday breaks, the article had some interesting tips on making the most of them,
Oh, yeah.
like scheduling breaks, just like we'd schedule a meeting or something.
I like that. It's easy to just let breaks happen whenever, especially when you are busy.
Mhm.
But treating them like an important appointment, that can make a big difference.
Totally agree. And it's not just about scheduling them, right? It's also what we DO during those breaks. The article talked about limiting distractions, like putting down the phone, stepping away from social media.
Oh, yeah. I'm so guilty of scrolling on my phone during
Me
breaks.
too. And then you end up feeling more tired, not less.
Exactly. Like, we're so used to constant stimulation, we've forgotten how to just,
Be present.
yeah. But those moments of quiet, disconnecting from all that noise, that's when our minds can actually rest.
It's like a digital detox for the brain. So what about when we do have a longer break, like an evening or a weekend? What are some good ways to use that time creatively?
They had some great suggestions for that. One I liked was exploring new hobbies, things outside our usual art practice.
Oh, like taking a cooking class or learning a new language.
Yes, things like that.
Yeah.
Or even reading a book that has nothing to do with art.
Right, right. So we're stimulating different parts of our brains, making new connections.
Exactly. You never know what might spark an idea.
Right, like a recipe could inspire a new color palette.
Exactly. Or a word in another language could spark a poem.
Love it. It's like we're cross-pollinating our minds with new experiences.
And don't forget reflecting on our work.
Oh, right, right. Like journaling or just thinking about what we've created.
Exactly. Those moments of quiet contemplation are so important to process our experiences, and let those aha moments come through.
It's like giving your subconscious a chance to speak.
And sometimes that's all it takes to unlock something new.
This all makes so much sense, but honestly, I still feel guilty sometimes taking breaks. Like I should be working.
I get it. It's a common struggle, especially for creative people. But what if we change how we think about it? What if rest isn't a luxury, but an investment?
An investment.
Yeah, an investment in our creativity.
I like that. So we're not being lazy, we're actually fueling our creative fire.
Exactly. And think long term, right? The article said taking breaks can actually improve mental health, reduce anxiety.
And just make you happier overall.
Yes. So it's not just about making better art, it's about living a better life as an artist.
So it's all connected, taking care of ourselves so our creativity can thrive.
Precisely.
This whole conversation has me thinking. We've talked about external breaks, travel, hobbies, nature. But what about those internal breaks? Those moments of stillness we can find even in the middle of a busy day.
That's a good point. It's like finding those pockets of peace. Just being present with yourself without judging yourself.
Right, like creating a sanctuary inside your own mind.
Right.
And that connects to the mindfulness stuff, right? Being aware of your thoughts, but not letting them take over.
Yes. And in those quiet moments, when we're not forcing creativity, that's when the real magic happens.
It's like we're making space for inspiration to come from within instead of always chasing it externally.
I love that. And it reminds us, sometimes the best breaks are the ones we take inside ourselves, just allowing ourselves to be.
It's amazing, right? Just changing how we think about rest can make such a difference. I'm already feeling more inspired to actually take those breaks.
Yeah, it's like we've been taught that being busy is the same as being productive. But I think those moments when we stop, when we step away from all the doing, that's when the good stuff happens.
You know, when you were talking about those internal breaks, it reminded me of this time I was working on this design project. It was tough. I was stuck.
Oh, I know that feeling.
I was staring at my computer trying to force it, but nothing was working.
Been there.
So finally, I just got up and decided to meditate for a few minutes,
Good idea.
just focusing on my breath, letting go of all those thoughts that were swirling around.
It's like giving your mind some space to breathe, right? Letting new things come through.
And that's exactly what happened. As I was meditating, this whole new design concept just popped into my head.
Wow.
It was so clear, and it totally solved the problem I'd been struggling with for hours.
It's amazing how that works, isn't it? Like our creativity just needed a moment to come through.
Yeah, totally. So how do we get more of those moments in everyday life?
That's the question, isn't it? We talked about mindfulness, but what does that actually look like, practically?
Yeah, how can we make it part of our routine?
Well, one thing I do is start each day with some mindful breathing. Just a few minutes focusing on the breath going in and out.
I see.
It's grounding. sets a good tone for the day.
That makes sense.
And you can do it while you're working, too. Like when you're in the middle of a project, try to really focus on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Notice the sensations, the sounds, the thoughts.
So we're bringing that same awareness to our work, like we would in meditation.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the less you react to your thoughts. You can observe them without getting swept away.
Right, right, like creating some distance between us and our thoughts.
And that can be so freeing creatively. When you're feeling stuck, it helps to have that distance.
Like you have more space to see things clearly, try new things.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the easier it gets. It's like training your mind to be more flexible, more open.
I love this. We started with the science behind rest. Then we talked about mindfulness. And now it's all about finding that stillness, that presence in our lives.
And it's a journey, right? There's always more to learn.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, I want to leave everyone with this. What's one small thing you can do today to make more space for rest?
Yeah, think about it.
It could be a few minutes of breathing, a walk outside, or just giving yourself permission to step away from work. Whatever it is, embrace it and see what happens.
You might surprise yourself.